Hi. So my EMAZE presentation looks like this. Developmental Theory, Learning Theory Part 2. Erikson's Theory and Social Emotional Development. I don't know if you can hear that barking in the background, but that's my dog, Aria. I think she says the mailman. So first we have Erikson's psychosocial development. From infant to 1 year, we've got trust versus mistrust. And the virtue developed is hope, and the negative outcome is fear or suspicion, which is spelled wrong, but pretend you didn't notice that. So in this time frame, they're learning how to trust their caregivers or how to mistrust people. They're really bonding with their caregiver, or maybe learning that they can't trust them because their needs are not being met. We have at 2 years, we have autonomy versus doubt. So at 2 years, they're learning about themselves and how to be themselves as a person, and maybe they're doubting their abilities, but also testing them to see what they can do. And the virtue developed is will. They are asserting their will to try things and do things on their own, and their negative outcome can be shame. If they feel like they're not good enough, if they don't have support, they might end up feeling shameful. Then we have 3 to 5 years is initiative versus guilt. Initiative is them taking that step forward to do things on their own. Now they're also developing the ability to feel guilty for doing something wrong. And through this, they develop their own purpose, and they may also learn to feel inadequate, or like they can't live up to what they want or what others want of them. From 6 to 12 years, they're learning industry versus inferiority. This is kind of the preteen years, like late childhood preteen years, and they are learning how to work hard, and they're also learning about inferiority, perhaps. Maybe they're not as good as their friends. Maybe if they work hard, they can become better than their friends. So the virtue developed is competence, and that is becoming well-versed in whatever they're learning industrially, and negative outcome would be feeling inferior to others. From 12 to 18, we have identity versus role confusion. During these years, we're questioning who we are, why we're here, what we're meant to do. In 18 through 40, we have intimacy versus isolation. So in this stage of our lives, we're looking for love, and we're trying to balance being alone versus being intimate, versus finding love or being unhappy because we are without friends or without love in our life. From 40 to 65, we have generativity versus stagnation, and this is the idea that you help younger people, you can help others, versus being stagnant, feeling like you're not going anywhere, like your life's almost over. They could feel unproductive, perhaps. So 65 plus, we have integrity versus despair, and I'm not sure what happened to the spacing there. I couldn't get it fixed. I had some trouble with EMAZE and spacing and underlining and stuff like that. But anyway, so integrity versus despair, they are developing wisdom. A negative outcome could be dissatisfaction with their life, and sad that their lives are ending soonish, even though they got a couple years, hopefully. Then we have the social emotional development. This encompasses the child's relationships, experiences, how they manage their emotions, their ability to understand their own feelings, ability to understand other feelings. So these are things that children develop kind of similarly, but they do develop them at their own time. So responsive caregiving is important because it helps the infant feel safe, and it creates this initial relationship with the infant and helps them regulate emotions. If they feel like their needs are being met, if the infant feels like their needs are being met, then they will feel safe and feel like they can trust people, and this helps with their early psychosocial development of trust versus mistrust. So emotional security, this is learned through observing the caregiver, and it's affected by culture. This is different in every child and can also be affected by temperament. Temperament is something that is particular in each child. They each have their own temperament, whether they're naturally happy or naturally sad, or not sad, but maybe a little bit more grumpy. Temperament affects the expression of emotion, and here I had some trouble with the underlining. I could not get these segments to be not underlined underneath. Anyway, emotion regulation is also affected by culture and really watching the caregiver and maybe teachers and other kids. So children are watching what others are doing and applying it to themselves to learn. Impulse control is something that we all struggle with and we are all continually learning to do, but what helps children to adapt, impulse control helps children to adapt to social situations and helps them follow rules, and it's something that it takes them a while to learn, and some take longer than others. And peer settings can really help children practice impulse control. Then we have social understanding. This comes from culture, interaction with adults, interaction with peers, comes from media, comes from books, comes from anything that they are interacting with, really, that has to do with other people. Empathy is learned from modeling caregivers around them, teachers, parents, grandparents, other students. This can be affected by temperament, can be learned from peers. Sense of self is shown during this age through saying their name. They can point to other people and say their name, or if someone says the name to them, like if the child's name is Susie and her sister's name is Caroline, and you ask Susie, point to Caroline, and she can point to Caroline. So the child knows there's a difference between herself and her sister, Caroline. So self-efficacy is they're learning to believe in themselves. This is influenced by their caregivers. That wasn't saved. I was writing influenced by caregivers, but for some reason it didn't save. This is influenced by their parents, by teachers, by grandparents, anyone who believes in them or supports them, verbally supports them, this helps them believe in themselves and become self-efficacious. Yes. All right. Thank you. And how do I close this?